Hello, Joe.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. It's been a while. How you
Oh,
been?
it's been a while. What have you been up to lately?
Um, I've been selling houses, as I
Yeah,
like to say, keeping the wheels of commerce turning.
that's right. Yes,
Yes,
what you do.
yes,
Yeah, I can never get over like how much of our economy is built around the house
yeah.
industry. I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to even say that, but like I was just thinking about as I was driving and I saw these new developments and all these new homes, and I'm like, okay, yeah, all the just everything that goes into building a home, making sure it's built properly, all the materials that go into it, people selling it,
Hmm.
obviously, maintaining it, all the products that go into it. And it makes me think, you know what, Home Depot, they really had a good idea there, didn't
Yeah.
they?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you could go into Home Depot and theoretically, I think, buy everything you need to put in your car and then go build a house.
Yeah, they
If you
have
had a large car, yes. Yeah,
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 one trip only
yeah.
from Home Depot
Yes.
to build your house.
I think yeah. I don't know. I'd have to really go around and think about it, but it's like, do they sell concrete mixes? I mean, yeah,
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do.
I wouldn't put in my own foundation, but
I
that's
wouldn't do
just
that.
me.
No.
Uh,
Remember, like, you ever see those catalogs, like building your own house back
Yeah.
in the like 30s
Oh
or
yeah. Yeah.
40s, and people are just like, "Here's a kit, build your
Yeah.
house." Like, what are
Yeah.
you nuts? I can barely put together a Lego
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I
Like,
think Sears offered that for a
is that
while.
right?
Yeah.
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 I mean, can you imagine just like the big plot of stuff and like go to town? Like that can't be like they gotta. I'm guessing codes were different back then. Did they have like coding? I assume they had
Mm,
codes and
that's a
building things they had to go through.
that's a good point because yeah, how could you sell a kit and be sure it's got the same code requirements in one area as it doesn't? Because like around here, your footings have to be 36 inches to be below the frost line, but I don't know that that would be the case in Phoenix.
Just some person like that's not even their main job building a house. I assume you would hire somebody to put it together. Like if you're an accountant, maybe you want to do it. I don't know,
Maybe.
but like you just
Well,
spend a week and build your own house.
the the first cabin my parents and I was very young when they had it at Lake of the Ozarks was a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath cabin on basically a crawl space. And the way I've heard it told is my dad and my grandpa built the house, and I think it may have been one of those kits from.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. So forget the first time home buyer. It's first time
yeah,
home builder.
yeah,
Are you a first time home builder? It's like I think we're past that. We want people. There's a lot of codes and regulations nowadays. Let's maybe hire somebody who is
yeah.
licensed to do it.
Yes, and the areas I work in, you do have to have a general contractor's license to pull a permit to build a house from the ground up. Yes.
Oh my god, yeah, yeah. What a I think it's for the good, right? It's for the best that maybe that's how it so everything's built to a certain code. So if you sell the house to somebody, you walk into it knowing that it met a certain level of criteria of safety and
Yes,
resilience.
where I'm selling new homes and now in Gardner, I think the city inspectors come in. I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 times during the course of construction. So that's a little bit of peace of mind to know that yeah, a professional inspector has passed this home at 5 or 6 stages of
Yeah,
construction.
it gives me peace of mind, like
Yeah.
especially in my house, like during a storm, like it's really windy
Hmm.
and it starts maybe hear a little bit more noise in the wood. But yeah, this was put together by professionals.
Yeah.
And it was, and there's a lot of people at stake here if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. A lot of
Hmm.
issues that if it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. So, yeah, I think I'm in favor of that
Yeah.
personally. That's a me thing, I guess. Um, but yeah, speaking of first time home buyers, though, I want to talk about that with you.
Sure.
So like a first time home buyer, let's say they're in Overland Park, Kansas, and you're a
Uh-huh.
first time home buyer. What kind of experience do you have with that? What's the mindset of a first time home buyer? What do we got?
Mhm.
What are the conversations you have? What's the consultation look like? Talk to me about that.
So a lot of first time home buyers have been renting, um, and they just want to own a home as opposed to rent and build that equity in their home. And so that's usually their motivation. Most first time buyers, they've gotten through college and have um, gotten to an apartment and lived there for a couple of years to establish a job and income and savings. Um, Other than that, you know, there's, you know, single versus married people. There's
Pretty much everything, right? Yeah, it's like
yeah,
you don't have to go to college to
right,
buy a house, though, do
right.
you? I mean, I hope not.
No, you don't. Yeah,
Is that a requirement to buy a
yeah.
house? Did you go to college? Show me your transcripts.
You need to bring your diploma to the buyer
You
consultation.
have to wear a
Yes,
cap with a
yes,
tassel on it.
yeah. So no, but that is kind of typical of Overland Park and Johnson County. That entry level there is usually somebody who's college educated,
Right,
but not
yeah.
that's certainly not
Of
a
course
hard
not.
and fast rule at all.
Of course
Not at
not.
all.
No, of course not. Yeah, it's I guess you're just playing demographic kind of.
Yeah.
Like if you were to like put like 100 people together and you threw a pebble, and maybe you probably would hit somebody with a college degree,
Right.
or someone with some college, or even trade school. Anyone who's like went through some higher learning experience that can enhance their ability to earn a living that qualifies for a house.
I guess the way to say it is whatever level of education they have wanted to get, they're there and past it by the time because it's not a great idea to buy a house while you're still in college.
No,
you know?
no. Remember when we were in college and I was
Yes.
working at Sonic Drive-In?
Yes.
The idea of owning a house with that, I mean, I wouldn't even qualify. No one would give me money to buy a house with that job. I walk in, like, what was your income last year? It was like $9,000. Okay, you're not going to qualify.
Wait, I don't have expenses in terms of slushies, limeades.
Limeade,
Sonic
slush.
doesn't have slushies. They have the limeade.
Well, no, yeah, Sonic's have slushies.
Oh, they do.
They have slushies.
Oh yeah. I was thinking of
Sonic slushie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wrap 44, cherry limeade. Yeah, they pretty much have like combination of tens of thousands of different combinations of drinks.
Yeah.
That's always a weird thing too, because you could put like pineapple into a drink and they call that a drink. I'm like, you're just putting food into a drink. That doesn't count, but we're counting it. Like, okay, why not?
That's how they get you. I'm gonna have dinner in my cup. Yeah.
Whenever I worked there, everyone in our staff, like this is going back, obviously, when you're working like, a college gig, which is like clock in, clock out kind of fast food. I always enjoyed it because whenever the people I was working with, we always had our own specific drink, like, the Route 44 limeade with the strawberry in it. That was, this person's drink. And this other person, their special drink was like, cherry limeade with half that, and you poured orange juice in it and put a cherry on top. That was their drink. You know what mine was?
What's that?
It was a small Sprite with extra ice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I really expanded my creativity on that one.
Your Highness, your crazy drink.
Extra ice with Sprite. Yeah, that's my regular.
Fast food places, though, they usually fill the cup up with so much ice. If you got like extra ice, there would have been like what, an ounce and a half of Sprite in there? Or?
Yeah, I don't think the fountain drink was on for very long. Whenever I filled it, it was like.
You're actually saving them money.
But I have the ice. Who doesn't like Sonic Ice?
Somebody was talking about that the other night. How like different places. Some. It was just a conversation I was having. Like I said that, like, oh yeah, everybody was in on this conversation about ice. But
it was you online, wasn't it? With your online friends.
It's my ice chat room. But yeah, somebody was talking about how different places have better ice than like
they 100% do.
Yeah.
100% do.
Yeah.
I think Wendy's ice is meant to not fill the cup more than Sonic Ice. Though Sonic Ice takes up more space, but it's a better experience.
Yeah.
Speaking of buying ice, I think Quick Trip, in terms of buying ice, I don't buy ice from Quick Trip. I don't like their ice. It's just it's not a good experience if I put it in my freezer. But Quick Shop, or I don't know, one of the other quick, that's one I go to for I use their ice. It's like more, I don't know, it's the oval and then the middle of it's punched out.
Yeah.
I don't know what there's a term for that in the ice industry.
Tunnel ice.
Tunnel ice.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just make that up?
I did. But it fits, doesn't it?
Tunnel ice. Yes, it's the tunnel ice. I like that for my home consumption beverages. But yeah, that's my favorite ice. I'm sorry. Back to first time home buyers though.
Yeah.
So if you're a first time home buyer, so we're talking about we're basically getting qualified for a home, and the conversation is it's got to be a tough conversation too, isn't? The housing prices are quite high right now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and in addition to the pricing, I mean that is what it is, and everybody's got their own budget. So going back to that, one of your first steps after just kind of making the decision saying, yes, I'm ready for it. I'm tired of where I'm living now. It's time to move on. It's time to move, time to get a house. one of the first places you should go is a lender, and they will assess your debt to income ratio, your
Credit score.
credit score.
Yeah, your income for, I think last time I checked, it was last 2 years. I don't know how it is now, but I remember it had to be W-2. This basing your income. I don't know how it is now, so check with your lender. But remember that being a thing, unless there was a different kind of loan you'd have to get if you were like a contractor kind of
Yeah.
thing. That makes sense.
So yeah, if you're an independent contractor and paid 1099,
Yeah.
like I am, I don't know if this is a strict, hard and fast rule, but generally speaking, they like to see 2 years of
Yeah.
income.
That's what I had.
Yeah.
That's whenever I got my loan. That's what they wanted to see, 2 years. I think tax returns too. They wanted to see
Yeah.
my taxes as well.
Yep. When I applied for my mortgage, I basically just took everything I filled out tax wise to the lender. I'm like, it's all there. Whatever you need out of it, you know.
It's like that Ron Swanson guy from Parks and Rec. Just hands him a note that says, "Give me $400,000." I made $200,000 last year. Like, well, I did. Like, this doesn't count though. You need to have an accountant send me this.
But that's essentially where you set your budget with your lender, unless you're lucky enough to be a first time buyer who's cash. Then
That is a very interesting situation you have. Good for you.
That's
cool.
Yeah, that's quite rare. But so then you have your budget, and then in this market, that means, say your budget is $225,000. That probably means you're going to be looking at houses around $175,000 list price, because inventory is so tight. There's going to be a bidding war on most homes.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
There's like, at least there's a lot of offers coming in,
Yeah.
and you have to, it's as they say, a seller's market. Is that what that's called? And that's just got to be kind of frustrating. Is it frustrating? It sounds frustrating. I don't know.
It is, because I don't have any active buyer clients right now, but last year I did, and it was a case of writing an offer on multiple homes before we finally got one. And so if you're entering the market and want to buy a home, and whether it's a good or a bad market is up to you. If it's time, if you want a home and you're ready to move, then it's time for you to move. Just be ready to look at a bunch of homes, and what you see it advertised for is probably not what you're going to pay for it. And so it could be a lot longer process than it would have been a year and a half, 2 years ago. Certainly 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, I bought 5 years ago. So if you're the buyer's agent, that means you are basically on your toes whenever they want to talk. You're there within quick. They want to go, or they send you like, oh, I saw this listing on Zillow, or you probably send them listings that are not just like publicly listed on Zillow, or is it like you send them things from, I don't know, like the MLS is that right?
So Zillow and those sites do populate from the MLS, so you pretty much see everything that's on the market. But I usually send people listings. I have a way to just email listings right out of MLS. And there is one advantage to MLS in that we can, if an agent has a listing coming on, they can put it in what's called a pre-MLS status. And we can at least know it's coming. We can't go see it until its actual live date, but we'll at least know it's coming, be prepared, see when it's coming on the market, make sure we've made time to go see it that day.
Okay.
So I don't think that populates out to, I could be wrong.
Other websites that like seem like they draw from the MLS, but it's a little bit of like a little heads up, little head start kind of thing.
But that may have changed recently, because relatively recently you weren't even able to email out pre-MLS listings like you could an active listing, but you can now, and at least say, hey, here it's coming. So that may have changed. I should know that.
That's okay.
Thanks for tuning into this real estate podcast where I don't know much about real estate.
Welcome to Google it.
Yeah.
We should check that. I just said it though. We should still check that. That's okay. No, yeah, we're all humans here.
Yeah.
We're not 100% perfect, but we do our best to like yeah, give you the best information and basically work from our own lived experience as agents and all that. So
Yeah.
yeah, the so you're there with a so qualified. The talk to the lender. They pre-approve you, say for 253, whatever the number is. Go out looking at homes, and then I mean, you've already talked to the first time home buyer before this. Like, I want two beds, two
Yes.
baths, or I want one bed, one bath,
Yes.
whatever it is, whatever their situation is. And in the meantime, while they're doing that, you're trying to find maybe houses that suit their needs
Yes.
and putting together a little packet or something and sending it to them or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll sit down or over the phone, do a buyer consultation. This is important to listen to what they want. The number of bedrooms and bathrooms, um, general area, if there's a school district they want to be in, they're if they want to be a certain distance from their workplace,
Yeah.
and budget comes into this too. Style of home, like if they only want to see 2 stories or if they'll look at ranches and split levels too. Um, and things to exclude. Some people will say, I don't want any homes on the corner of a street, or I, you know, don't want to, I don't know. There's all sorts of criteria. I don't
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to,
yeah. I want to be this close to a park, maybe, or a
Mhm,
cul-de-sac, or
mhm.
there's any number of things really. You think about it,
Yeah.
or like, yeah, I mean, proximity to amenities.
Yes,
I like
absolutely.
I like being close to a quick trip. It's pretty sweet.
That way your trips to it can be quick. Yes.
And the and also proximity to downtown here in Lawrence is really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you do that, and then they start talking about that, and then you go look at homes, and then it's
Mhm.
time to put in bids,
Yeah.
and that's when it gets kind of frustrating. It sounds like, or it can be at this point, it can be like that. But you guys got to stay I don't know, enthusiastic and
Yeah.
have a good what's it called
Attitude.
attitude. I'm not
Outlook.
pessimistic, optimistic.
Optimistic. Yeah. You do. You have to be in this market. You have to be optimistic. You have to be willing to be told no a few times.
Mhm.
And and when it comes to writing the offer, we can look at comps and see what the most expensive home sold for in the neighborhood, but kind of that may be going up with each closing, and um, that's certainly something you should pay attention to because I am starting to hear about homes that aren't appraising. It's still kind of rare, but it's happening more and more. So you either be ready to waive an appraisal or be upfront with the seller and say, look, if it doesn't appraise, we're going to have to renegotiate, or you're putting this house
Okay.
back on the market,
Oh,
or
okay. All right.
so. So
Interesting. All
and the
right.
seller may be confident it appraises and is like, that's no problem, because anybody getting a loan, not anybody, if you're only financing like 30%, which who is, but the lender will require an appraisal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so, my advice to a buyer when we're writing the offer is, look, here's the market data, and here's your budget. Write an offer where you're going to be able to sleep at night if you don't get the house, and you're going to be able to sleep at night if you do get the house.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that is I might need to make that one of those graphics, like those
Yeah.
Gary V graphics.
Yeah. Can you put it on a t-shirt?
I can, yeah, yeah. We should
Yeah.
open a store to sell products in there.
Let's get matching tattoos that say it.
Okay, we're gonna put a pin in that
Did I
idea.
take it too far?
I think we're not quite there yet, but we'll see. I'm not. I don't know if I could handle that. I don't know.
And when it turns back to a buyer's market, that you're going to have a tattoo that's completely irrelevant about home buyer advice. Yeah.
You take first time home buyers to open houses. I want to talk about open houses.
Yeah.
What's that like?
So open houses, yeah, they're, you know, as many people as are going to be looking at your house, just putting it on the market, the seller's probably not going to get a whole lot of benefit out of an open house right now. It never hurts. It never hurts. It is, from an agent's perspective, just being honest with you, it's often something agents do. They go hold an open house and hope to meet unrepresented buyers to
Okay,
get for
yeah.
their clients. It's also a good way for them to meet the neighbors, because a lot of times when you hold an open house, curious neighbors will stop by. And if they're thinking of selling, that's a good way to meet them. But it's it's never going to hurt you to hold one, hold an open house. Yeah, I would never, if a seller asks me to hold it, I'm not going to tell them no. That's a terrible idea. It
Right.
never hurts. So
Yeah. Do they last? How long do they last for?
the traditional open house is usually like 1 to 4 on a Sunday afternoon.
Okay. Nice.
Though they're becoming a lot more common. It's certainly not unusual to have them on Saturday afternoons. And what's becoming more popular though is 2 hour open houses, like on a Wednesday or Thursday evening. Those have
Okay.
become very popular too.
Wow. There's nothing good on TV.
There's nothing. There's nothing on TV that's as good as looking at a house. Let me put it that way.
I like how you put that. Yeah. And the age of streaming.
I don't mean to get too off topic, but one of the most inaccurate portrayals of an open house I've ever seen was on a show I really like to watch called Better Call Saul.
Mhm.
And there was an episode where the main character wants to take his girlfriend by a house that is going to be an open house on their way to work. And they happen to meet the real estate agent there. And I'm like working that out in my mind. I'm like, okay, even if he goes to work at 9 o'clock, he's probably going by this house at 8 o'clock. No agent is holding an open house at 8 in the morning on a weekday.
Which episode was this? I watched Better Call Saul. I can't think of this episode.
It was in one of the middle seasons.
Really? Okay.
It was when he was starting to make money. I wish I could remember the exact episode, but I'm just like, oh, you know what? They took some creative liberties. Otherwise, the series is good.
I remember Breaking Bad having that episode where they were building the lab inside the house. And I was thinking of the Breaking Lab, like where they built it all up and they tried to sell it, but then they lowballed it. And he goes, "Yeah, you didn't disclose this thing, this lab in it."
Now that is actually kind of accurate. If you have a house with a meth lab in it, and you don't disclose it, you're laughing. But
yeah, no, okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
What? We have a lot of listeners, Brian. Some of them have meth labs in their home, But no, it's not so much the fact that illegal activity took place in your home. It's the fact that I'm not familiar with the manufacture of meth, but I've been told it has many noxious, hazardous chemicals in its production process, and that can basically make the house a toxic hazard.
Yeah, kind of like asbestos kind of thing, but different because I wouldn't know what it's like to be in a house with a meth lab in it. But yeah, it feels like it's one of those things you would disclose. If you don't know, just disclose it, right?
That is good advice. Yeah, when in doubt, disclose. It's not going to hurt you to disclose because we have a form called a seller's disclosure, and it's about 8 pages long. And if you fill that out and you disclose a flaw in the house, the buyer of your house signs that as part of the contract. And so they're signing off on saying, yeah, you made them aware of it. And so that protects you. They're saying, yep, we disclosed it. You saw it. You signed that you saw it.
What's that from Silicon Valley show on HBO? They go, you know how it is. Bros disclose.
That's a good one.
That's the code. Bros disclose.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
So, and I would hate to deal with an HOA if you had a meth lab in your area. That might start some fights.
I don't know that I've seen. I was going to make a joke. I've never seen explicit language banning a meth lab in a HOA declaration or restrictions booklet, but actually, I think I have.
Okay, yeah. Don't grow this there if you don't grow that there. Yeah, basically. I mean, that makes sense because in some parts of the country, it is probably legal to do let's talk about hydroponics, for example. I don't know what the rules are in Colorado, but if you are living in an area and you're paying a lot of money to live there, you probably don't want to be around, I don't know, that kind of thing. People who are growing or just the growing. Maybe it's just growing. You know what I'm talking about. But maybe I don't know. I don't know how the rules work. I mean, by guessing it's like people who live in an area. What do you think about HOAs? Like people live in an area, spend a lot of money, they want it to look and feel a certain way, and I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So, yeah, there's a lot of people who think HOAs, throw too many restrictions on their residents, and there may be there's some, I don't know, that there may come a day where I turn down a house I was looking at for myself because the HOA doesn't allow something I want. I don't know what that would be. But um, but mainly they're there so that somebody buying a house in the neighborhood can expect some level of consistency. You
Yeah,
know,
makes sense. Yeah.
It-
I guess what people don't like about HOAs is they get a little power hungry sometimes.
they
Is that
can.
fair to say?
Yeah,
Of course, I've seen that on TV. I don't know. Maybe that's real or not, but
yeah, they had a funny portrayal on that at the retirement community Jerry's parents lived in Seinfeld.
yeah.
There was a real power struggle there, but and that may not be too far from the truth. But generally, in residential single family home subdivisions, there's not quite that power grab, but they're more set up for a way to collect money for the amenities in the community, like if you have a community pool. And yeah, they're there to enforce certain restrictions, like most of it's stuff like parking a car outside or having a car parked too long, a fence getting in disrepair.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So there's a mechanism there to enforce those things.
Yeah. Makes sense. Or yeah, I think the word consistency. I like that word. It's like a
Yeah,
predictable kind of consistency. You're not going to have. I don't know. A common issue I hear people have is like maybe parking your RV
yeah,
in an
yeah,
area. It's like, look, this is kind of clogging up the street here,
yeah.
and it's getting kind of annoying. Can we please not park our? Can you please maybe buy a parking space at an RV lot where
Yeah.
they make those things?
Well, and then and other things like for some reason I don't know if I'd say it's popular, but it's more common than it's been before. Is people who get chickens to have their own fresh eggs at their house, and
Ah, yes, 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 that one.
and that there's a way at the beginning to know, well, will one of my neighbors eventually build a chicken coop in their backyard? Well, this HOA specifically forbids it. This one doesn't. It could happen in that one that doesn't specifically forbid it.
Yeah, they can update the rules, can't they? I'm sure there's got to be some voting thing that probably needs to happen, but who knows?
It is surprisingly hard to update rules in an HOA.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
Well, certain rules, I'll say that. And I'll give an example. There's a community I worked in Olathe, and when the developer I worked, he bought it during the economic downturn. The previous developer had to sell it, couldn't keep it going, and so the developer I worked for bought it, and the HOA restrictions documents still had the old name of the subdivision on them. And we just wrote an amendment that said these still apply. But there would have been things really, really difficult to change in those HOA restrictions, such as the minimum square footage of the homes, setbacks, and that they're difficult to change for that reason. So another developer can't come in, and all these people who say built homes with 3-car garages, oh, now somebody's coming in and lowering their values by building one with 2-car,
Ah,
something
okay,
like
yeah,
that. So
okay, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I get it makes sense. I understand like the both sides of the argument.
yeah.
I tend to think like I tend to lean in the side like yeah, I like the amenities aspect of
Mhm.
that. I what's that called? The maintenance provided.
Maintenance provided. Yeah,
That's a thing. That's like an HOA kind of thing, is it
it
not?
is. Yeah, there's a lot of villa communities or townhome communities where the lawn maintenance is provided, and that so you would have a higher HOA fee. Some of them break out the maintenance fee versus just the HOA fee. I guess you'd have two payments, but most of them put it all together, and the HOA just collects it and pays the lawn service to cut everybody's grass. Um, and then, a step above that would be condominiums, where the HOAs, you know, going back to being a first time buyer, if you're looking at a condo, you want to look at the HOA dues because they're going to vary from condo to condo, even within a building, because they're usually based off of the square footage of the unit. And second, they can be quite high because there's a lot of condos are in converted buildings that are older that require a lot of maintenance.
Mhm.
Plus, a lot of your insurance is covered by the HOAs there. And one thing to look out for is if you're buying a condo, ask if they are anticipating any one-time costs coming up. There was a condo complex that a friend of mine was looking at, and they opted not to buy there because they knew there was a large upcoming concrete repair that the exterior of that building needed. And the residents have to pay for that one
Okay.
way or another. And if the HOA doesn't have enough reserves, they whatever it costs, they divide it up and bill it to the residents.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it sometimes those one-time repairs can soar up to $10,000-$15,000 per resident,
Yikes.
so
Oh my gosh. Oh my
so that's
gosh.
something to look out for. Ask if they've recently had any of those, which if they've recently had them and the residents already paid for it, you get to benefit from it.
Mhm,
And
mhm, mhm.
you also want to, if you're buying a condo, usually your lender will ask you to get this from the condo association, and that would be a copy of their reserves to see how much money the HOA has in reserves. So they aren't going to be turning around and sticking the residents with a large bill. But it's why some condos have HOA fees monthly that are the same as what it would cost you to rent a 2-bedroom apartment somewhere else.
Yeah, you should check out the HOA fees in Breckenridge, Colorado,
Mm,
or Keystone.
yeah,
Holy
yeah,
Lord.
yeah,
Holy Lord. Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine. But that is I guess it's a lifestyle, choice.
yeah,
It's a thing. I for one at this point in my life, I kind of enjoy I just like being left alone at this
yeah,
point,
yeah,
and just don't bother me. If my neighbor were to come up to me and be like, "Hey, this and that," and like I listen. Like if there's
yeah,
any issues with whatever's going on, of course I listen. But like when you have like some sort of authoritative power saying like you shall do this, like that's kind of rubs me
yeah,
the wrong way at the moment. But
yeah.
who knows how I'll feel 10 years from now?
Well, it's one of those things. If you cut your lawn anyway, you're never going to hear from your HOA. And the other thing is, it kind of the HOA don't necessarily go around and police these things. It's a lot of times a requirement of another neighbor to contact the HOA and basically tell on them and turn
Yeah,
them in.
tattletale.
Yeah,
Do a little tattling.
but there's a company in the KC metro area that actually manages HOAs for, I don't know, if I were to guess, somewhere between 80 and 100 neighborhoods in the metro area. And I got to know a couple of people at it because they were managing one of the communities I worked in. And I kind of felt bad for them because all they do is get complaints,
Oh, geez,
and
that sounds. You're the customer service line
yeah, yeah.
in the neighborhood.
And then you got to turn around and, if one neighbor is complaining about another, you got to hear about it. And then you got to turn around and tell that neighbor, hey man, you got to cut your grass or we're going to put a lien on your
Oh
house.
God.
It's like, that's not a fun call to make.
No, that's a what you want to have like nice harmony with everybody. But
Yeah.
however, if things are going down, we got to keep things in order a little bit.
Yeah.
And but yeah. All right. Well, that's our thoughts on HOAs and another good podcast.
Yeah.
Wow, look at this.
I didn't know that I knew so much about HOAs.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, one more thing about HOA. Not a lot of people know this. HOA stands for Home Owner Association.
You get out of here.
Yeah.
You get out of here.
We probably should have said that at the beginning.
I was pronouncing "haw" this
Yeah.
whole time. I mean, I didn't want to say it. We said HOA. I was like "haw,"
Yeah.
but
Some
Home Owners Association.
Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you, Joe. I mean,
We should have said that at the beginning. People are like,
That's-
HOA, what? Home,
hors d'oeuvres or anchovies.
home offer application.
Houses or apartments.
Hot otter appreciation.
Hours or alligators.
Hostess of area. Yeah.
Oh my God, we could do this for the next 35 minutes if we wanted to.
Well, let's save it for the next podcast.
All right, we'll go into the next podcast just doing those HOA, other rooms for HOA. All right. Well, that has been another episode of the Kansas City Real Estate Podcast, and I've been with Joe Stevenson, aka Joe the Realtor. And
Thank you, Brian.
I am Brian Reynolds. And so like, subscribe, share this podcast. And if you have a house that you want to sell, you should list it with Joe Stevenson. You should list it with him. And if you're looking to buy a house, you should also talk to Joe.
Yes.
Get that consult going. Basically, any kind of real estate transaction, you should talk to Joe the Realtor.
Yes. Absolutely. Thanks, Brian.
You got it. All right. Tune in, subscribe. Thanks, y'all.